So, couple things. We are now in what would be equivalent to week 3 of the semester. I know it's seems odd considering it's our third day, but we're moving along. And logistically, there are a couple things that I want to put on your radar uh, and go from there. The first thing is, as I mentioned during the syllabus, attendance is taken twice, right? Once at immediately at 9 o'clock and once after the break. You're expected to be here from beginning to end, right? This is a very truncated term. Anything you miss is going to be significant. One day is a week, just just as a point of emphasis. Um, some I received some emails for the last couple days. Oh, my mic wasn't working. That is a responsibility that you have to this class, is to have a functional microphone, right? So when you sign up for a synchronous class, you're expected to be able to participate the same way if you were in a classroom setting. So if you were in the classroom, and I'm gonna pick on Gabriel because I know he does participate and he jumps in there. But if I were to call on Gabriel, he would he would be able to respond to whatever question I asked him, right? That's the same thing on a synchronous class, right? In a non-synchronous class or asynchronous class, things are a little different. But when you sign up for an online class that you're expected to meet live, you're expected to treat it as if you're in the classroom. So if you cannot use a functional microphone going forward, I'm not going to amend the roster because it's not just attendance, it's attendance and participation. And if your mic's not working, you cannot participate. So from today forward, I I'm expecting you to have a functional mic, right? That's the first thing. Any questions on that? All right. The second thing is, you should have received an email announcement from me regarding the paper topic, that the key figure in psychology that I'm asking you to write on. I was pretty strategic about the names that I gave you. These are all pioneers in the field of psychology. These are all people we will come across during this semester. There are a lot of people in psychology I could have picked from, but knowing who we're going to come across during the term was strategic for me. Now, there are 48 people in the class, not necessarily on Zoom today, but so I picked 48 pioneers. I was also cognizant of the fact that historically there's been a bias in terms of male representation in the field. So I also tried to include uh, female pioneers. I tried to include ethnic minorities. I tried to build a more diverse list as not to continue to reinforce some of the Eurocentric focus of psychology. Um, as it relates to the paper itself, just a reminder, and I know I said this in my announcement, it's 5 to 7 pages. It's not a long paper. The title page counts as a page, the reference page counts as a page. So in reality, you have to write of actual content, 3 to 5 pages about who they are and what their major contributions to the field were or are. So you should be able to do this fairly easily. I mentioned when I went over the syllabus that the style and form, use whatever writing format you're most comfortable with. It does not have to be APA format. And even though this is a psychological class and we have the American Psychological Association has its own format, we're not there yet, right? This is an intro to psychology course. You may not have taken research methods. And if you haven't taken research methods, you probably did not learn APA format. So I'm not going to hold you to that, right? What I'm going to hold you to is any format that you choose, right? So if you use MLA, you have to adhere to MLA format. If you use Chicago style, you have to use Chicago style. If you use APA, you have to use APA. But whatever writing format you have to use, you have to have in-text citations, right? I said there have to be 5 citations, and they have to correspond to your references in your reference list, right? So that's pretty much the paper in a nutshell. Um, because we're on a very crunch time period, I made sure to assign you your person rather than overwhelming you about to say, here, pick a pioneer in psychology. And you may not even know anyone yet, right? All you may know is Sigmund Freud or Wundt because we talked about him. So giving you a person is already, inspiring you to look up these key figures. Um, any thoughts about the paper? Any questions about the paper?
When is the paper due?
Good question. It is due at the final, right? So the 23rd of January is our final. So that's when it is due, right? So I'm giving you as much time as possible to do it, right? So I'm not making it due any earlier. But every single person you have, you will not struggle finding things about them. I promise you, no matter who it is, these individuals are so influential that if you cannot find information, I would question that, right? So um, let's take Skinner, BF Skinner, right? So if you can't find information on BF Skinner, a person who's published over 100 different manuscripts and was a leading pioneer in behaviorism, that would be questionable. So every single one of these people are like Freud and Skinner. They're well established in the field. Jenna.
So, like, when we finish the paper, like, how do we turn it in? Do we, like, turn it on Blackboard, or do we, like, email it
Yes.
to you?
Yeah. No, you're going to have a submission portal on Blackboard to upload it to. And the reason why I do that is I want you to know that your manuscript was received. Now, that actually is a good question, Jenna, because it reminds me to also be practical. Some of you have a MacBook and you probably use Pages instead of Microsoft Word. I'm going to tell you that when you upload a Pages document to Blackboard, it doesn't convert. So you need to upload this paper in either a Microsoft Word file or a PDF, right? So if you're using Pages, you can convert your Pages into a PDF. Either one of these will be able to be viewed and read. But if you use Pages, it's not going to convert. And that's going to be a problem for you in terms of getting the grade. But I appreciate that because it will all be submitted on Blackboard. Other questions on the paper? All right. The last major announcement is that I received an email last night at like 9 o'clock from the psychology department that they set up your Sona systems. Remember that research credit obligation? You have to get 3 research credits um, by the end of the term. Now, the nice thing is your experience with research doesn't actually have to be a direct study. It can be doing the ethics courses on research. It could be reading a journal article and answering a few questions on it. There are a lot of ways you can get your research credits, but I was assured that every single one of you were emailed with your login information, how to set up Sona systems. Again, this is not my requirement. This is a departmental requirement. To be honest with you, if I could do away with this requirement, I would. But it's not something I have any say in, as it relates to that. Now, I also want to give you a couple names as it relates to Sona systems. The person who generally deals with Sona systems is a person by the name of Victoria Baker, or Vicky Baker. She is absolutely um, remarkable and helpful, and she does a lot to make sure students are able to access it. So if the email that was sent out by the department was unclear, please reach out to her. And then in addition, we also have a second person, and I'll probably put an announcement with their email as well, by the name of Jill Levenberg. Jill Levenberg is one of our college assistants in the psychology department. And actually the email came from her, which said, if the students need anything, please have them email me. So between Vicky Baker and Jill Levenberg, this requirement should be smooth sailing as well. How many of you checked your emails and saw that you received an email about Sona systems?
I did.
Okay, good. So that's
Did-
good news. As long as I have a certain percentage of the class saying they did, that tells me that indeed you all received an email, because it's a mass email from Sona Systems from the department. So they would have sent it to everybody. All right, so that's a lot in terms of announcements. And I thought it was important to record these announcements because they're critical, right? And if someone missed the beginning of class, um, I don't want them to feel behind on that. Any questions regarding Sona systems? All right, so let's stop there, and then I'll start our lecture.